Then the other thing is the solutions that are necessary for that particular system. Because if you had a system that had, say, multi-factor authentication with biometrics, there's going to be controls that you need that you wouldn't necessarily need if you didn't have biometrics. So those are 3 things off the top of my head that you would use to tailor in the controls or tailor out the controls. Another thing, Brandon, that I don't see talked about a lot, if you had specialized systems, like if you, for example, if you had a healthcare system, you had healthcare tools, like you had specialized equipment that's used for healthcare, and HIPAA is very important because it's collecting, say, x-rays. That's very personal to that person. So HIPAA's laws are going to be applied. So you might have to tailor in some controls. Tailoring means is a fancy word for bring in some or take out. But when you think of tailoring, think about a suit. Does this suit fit me? Are these sleeves long enough? You're tailoring, you're fixing the suit so that the sleeves fit you, so that the neckline is nice. With NIST 800, you're going to tailor all of the security controls to fit that particular system. So think about the environment, think about the solution, think about the size of the network, think about the location. All of those things are factors to determine whether or not you need these particular controls or you don't. And then when you're tailoring them in, one thing we did at NASA was that we would just put NA. Like if we had a system that had no wireless, we'd put NA on that particular group of controls that pertain to wireless. Or if it had no remote access in or out, we'd say NA, not applicable to this particular system because we don't allow wireless here. My system is used for data backup. Okay, so if you had a system for data backup, and let's say if it was an alternate system, it's an alternate site and it's only used for backups, you don't need wireless. Nobody's remotely accessing it. Maybe, I'm not sure, what you're going on with your system. Anything that's not relevant to that system, you tailor those out. And so when you were going down the list, you just put not applicable. That's what we would do at NASA. Like we'd say, okay, this doesn't apply and here's why. And then sometimes you'd put NA, like if you were in EMAS, like if you're putting all this information in. It's a GRC system that documents all the controls. There's other types of GRC systems such as Exact and RSA Archer, and it's basically a database where you collect all security controls. So that's what EMAS is. So anyway, if you're putting all this stuff in there, we would put NA, not applicable. I use EMAS. Okay, so you put not applicable in there, and then you explain why. It's a backup system, and there's no remote access to this particular system. Like let's say you were doing AC17, which I think is remote, if memory serves, it's remote access. We don't remotely access this system. It's a backup system. All remote access is done on the system that's in the front. You would just explain, put not applicable, and here's why. And then when, say, the upper management sees it, management or whoever is going to review your stuff, maybe you have a security control assessor, they see it, they would be like, okay, I see why this is not applicable, right? Or they might say, no, this is applicable because X, Y, and Z, and then you can go back and forth and say, well, okay, how do we word this then? Wordsmith to say wireless is not used on this as a backup system.